Hey, you! I'm your nutrition coach. My name is Jackie Poole. Welcome to Happiness is a Healthier Habit. Let's get today's episode started. When you decide to change one thing out of your whole entire health aspect, your whole habits, about anything that you're trying to do, honestly, it's going to be sleep. This month is not only Mental Health Awareness Month, but we're also bringing out awareness on better sleep. So it is essential for our survival, for our health, for weight loss, for us to process everything that happens to us, right? And adults need a lot of sleep as well, but not as much as babies, right? So, for example, what is like the optimal sleep time for you? We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about why we need sleep. We're going to talk about what happens when we don't sleep, what's going to happen when we might not sleep as well, what happens to our hormones. We're going to dive a little bit about REM sleep and deep sleep, and we are going to be diving into a sleep cheat sheet that I have for you to get better sleep, to start sleeping better and feeling really rejuvenated after waking up. Because sometimes we wake up and we might have been in bed a long time. You felt like we slept a long time, but did we really get the quality rest we needed? So we're going to dive into all of that today. Welcome if you're new. I'm so glad you're here. Happy Tuesday. Let's get this started. So, as I was saying, sleep is essential for our health, our survival, our productivity. It is the main thing that we need for us to function efficiently in our everyday today lives. So, in a 2014 research, study showed that women that experience insomnia is 40% higher than men. So, as a mom, as women, we actually not only do we need more sleep, but in today's world, in today's society, we are not getting the quality sleep that we need. This could be in a lot of stages in our lives. For example, I can break it down a little bit into like my early 20s. I wanted to be out. I was working late nights. I remember when I used to work at Taco Bell, I wouldn't get out till like 2, 3 in the morning when we were open that late, especially on weekends, would get up and go to school. Or I was out and about, going to the clubs on the weekends and not going to sleep till like 4 in the morning and then had to work the next day. So there's so many ins and outs during that area. And I know like in my later 20s, I was having babies, I was not sleeping as well, and all of that stuff. And I did that for a few years. I mean, I've got 3 boys. And so getting the sleep routine down is so hard, and it took me a while. And now we're out of that stage. And now I'm at a stage where my hormones fluctuate. I know when I'm about to start my period, I start feeling hot. I start waking up more during those times. So there are different stages in life that cause us maybe not to have the best sleep. And I didn't know what I know now. So I try to implement, and I want to bring awareness on how important sleep is, especially because as women, we need more sleep. Not as much as men. And it's only like a few minutes. I think I've read like 15 more minutes than men, but it's crucial for us to have that sleep. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about sleep general guidelines that are recommended based on age, right? So, like for babies, when they're born, you require about 14 to 17 hours of sleeping. They're always sleeping, right? It's awesome when they sleep. Sometimes they might not sleep when you want to sleep, but it's important for them to get that sleep. For kiddos 1 to 2 years old, it goes down to like 11 to 14 hours. 3 to 5 year olds require 10 to 13 hours. 6 to 12 year olds require 9 to 12 hours. 13 to 18-year-olds require 8 to 10 hours, and 18 to 64 years old require 7 to 9, and older than 65 require 7 to 8 hours of sleep, right? So as we get older, we definitely need less sleep, but we still need a good chunk of time. So a good recommendation is always maybe 7 to 9 hours of sleep for you, if that's possible. I know for us, the kids go down to sleep a little earlier. When the summer is getting here, it's already getting super bright outside. So we're actually slowly changing that time frame. So they used to go to bed at 8. Now we're going to slowly start increasing the time, and they're going to be going to sleep like around 9, right? Even if it's summer, we don't want to make a huge change. We want to stay with the light, with the sunrise and the sunset. It's going to help with their circadian rhythm, and they are going to be well rested, better rested when we go with that clock. So let's talk a little bit about why we need sleep. Remember, when we sleep, I've talked about this before, but let this serve as a refresher. We clean up our brains. Our brains do a lot of cleaning when we are resting. The risk of depression and suicide as well go down, especially for, the increase of baby blues and things like that. Definitely postpartum goes up in that first initial time when the baby arrives, because we are not sleeping on the clock. We are waking up every couple of hours to attend to our babies, and so that can be a lot of impact in our brain on how we go about day-to-day basis. And so it's important for us to get that sleep because of these factors as well. And like I mentioned earlier, not only is it cleaning up your brain in there, you are healing, you are repairing your body, you are helping your hormones balance, you are regulating the inflammation that is going on. Especially, for example, I don't know if you've noticed, but when you don't have a good night's sleep, when you felt like you were tossing and turning all night, you might wake up more puffier, you might wake up feeling like you retain more water. Why? Because your body's not doing what it's supposed to when it's resting. So what happens when we don't sleep well? I touched a little bit about this. Our body doesn't clean itself up. Our body is more inflamed. And so when we don't sleep well, our hormone imbalances definitely are out of whack. So what might happen when we don't get enough quality sleep, our cortisol might be increasing at wrong times, right? Our cortisol should be higher in the morning, decreasing at night. And so when we're not getting enough sleep, it could be reversed. We might feel tired in the morning. We might feel like we didn't get enough rest. We might be wired at night. So we could be having a hard time falling asleep. So when we don't get enough rest, when we don't sleep well, these hormonal imbalances are changing in our circadian rhythm, and so our hormones are not balanced the way they should be, and so causing us not to be able to sleep, not to be well rested. This also disrupts our microbiome. So I don't think I've touched on this quite a bit, but our microbiome is basically all the good bacteria, bad bacteria that's in our gut. And so our gut is like our second brain. And so that dictates a lot of what happens with our hormones, with how we react to things. And so if we don't sleep well, our microbiome isn't doing well as well. And so when our microbiome isn't doing as well, it can impact all kinds of things, like worsen our sleep, like being restless at night. Another effect that you might have not known is when we don't sleep well, this also affects fertility. So I'm not sure if you're aware, but from the podcast that I listen to and other resources that I have, the increase of infertility has gone up way much, not only for women, but for a male as well. And so that is something that if you are wanting to get pregnant, if you are struggling with fertility issues, this is one simple thing that you can add on your to do things to kind of really regulate your sleep. And so we're going to be talking about that in a little bit, because we're going to be talking about why we might not sleep well. So let's dive into that. So why we might not be sleeping well. So number one is going to be our sleep environment, our sleep hygiene. Just like we have a morning routine, we should also have a night routine. Why? Because this is going to prepare us. This is going to allow us to wind down. It gives signals to our brain, cues to our mind that, hey, sleep time is coming up. It's going to be time to go to sleep. So this is also very important. So our body associates certain things that we do to sleep. For example, start dimming the lights, having watching the sunset, having your skin care routine, turning on some, red light, reading a book, things like this that are really going to wind down. And we're going to talk about this in our sleep cheat sheet tips that we're going to talk towards the end. But that's just one reason why you might not be sleeping well. Another reason is you might have a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety, a lot of ruminating thoughts that are going through your head. And what if this happens? I have to do this tomorrow. Oh my God, I have a busy day. So all of these things start happening, right? And so when you do have those thoughts, you can always just stop. Like if you're not able to fall asleep in like 15-20 minutes, then break that cycle of your thoughts, write them down, take some deep breaths, do some cat cows, things that are going to just get you out of bed and pause and think and get those ideas out so you can go back to sleep, right? Read a book. And so that is just another reason why you might not be sleeping well. Diet can also be related to that. Maybe you had too much caffeine during the day. Like I've mentioned, you don't want to go past 2, and even 2 is pushing it, depending for me on the type of caffeine it is. If I have my Herbalife tea, I can push past 2, but I would never have like a cappuccino or regular like Folgers coffee like my husband can at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. There is no way I would be able to fall asleep. If you're taking vitamins, things like that, certain things won't allow you to fall asleep the way you want to. So change those routines up as well. Another diet related tip is also maybe a large meal before bed or too much alcohol before bed. That definitely disrupts your REM sleep, your deep sleep, which we're also going to be talking about here in a few minutes. Also, recommendation, you might not be sleeping well if you're doing high intensity workouts right before bed. Whenever we think about this, I do want to remind you that exercising is an energizing tool. When you are done working out, you are sending signals to your brain to produce more energy. You feel hyped, your body is nice and hot, and juices are flowing, endorphins are kicking in. And so when you're done working out, you're supposed to feel more energized, and that's actually what I give advice to. When you want to get more energy, you need to move your body. And so doing very intense workouts right before bed might cause you not to sleep as well. Another reason here is screen time. And for us and for many families, that might be very hard, especially right now during summer. For us, we do a lot of movie nights. And so, just so you're aware, the more screen time that you're having before bed, the more decreased melatonin production your body's going to go through, because those blue lights act as a kind of signal to your head that is daytime. So we are producing less melatonin, as opposed if you're like to go outside and be with the sun and the sun is setting, your body would intentionally be producing more melatonin, getting ready for bed. That's something that you should be aware of. Now, like I said, summer's coming. I do more TV in the afternoons. So there's minimizing things that you can do. Maybe turn off TVs like around 7, like I mentioned earlier. We're starting to go to bed at 9, so maybe start dimming electronics off by 7 or things like that. And like I said, sometimes on weekends we do movie nights, and there's nothing wrong with having that if you want to do that. But know that if we constantly are doing TV every single day, eating late meals, drinking before bedtime, working out before bedtime, all of these things are going to affect our sleep. And now I want to talk a little bit about hormones and cortisol, because cortisol is one of the hormones that really impact how we have energy throughout the day, how we sleep at night. And so it's one of the hormones that's very affected by the way we sleep. And so cortisol should peak between the hours of 6 and 8 a.m., right? So when the sun is rising, when your metabolism starts to rev up. So a little bit of my morning routine is I wake up, I brush my teeth, wash my face, drink my cup of warm water, and go on a brisk walk. Followed by that is breakfast. It's a great recommendation to eat about 2 hours after waking up. When you wake up, you should feel hungry. You should want to eat. Skipping meals here is not ideal, and you want your meals to have a high, protein breakfast. I love blueberries in the morning, raspberries in the morning. I feel like 2 boiled eggs with a couple of egg whites, some protein coffee, and some raspberries are one of my favorite to-go breakfasts right now. And so that not only is going to stabilize your cortisol, but also you're intaking good protein, good carbs, good fruits that are going to help you with weight loss if that's something that you're looking into. And it's going on with the rhythm of how you're waking up, right? Your body's prepared to take on that brisk walk. Your body's prepared to enjoy that high protein breakfast, but you don't want to fill it up with muffins or donuts or a really high carb meal going in first thing in the morning, because that is just going to spike up all kinds of things, especially glucose, especially if you're not moving your body right after. So that is something that is super important when we talk about regulating a sleep, right? It's starting in the morning and making better choices on how we start our day. And so going back to cortisol, our lowest point should be around 9 to 10 p.m. when the sun starts setting. So, that's one way as well to start regulating your cortisol. It's just like watching the sunset. It's definitely letting your body know that it's almost time to wind down. And so now that we've talked a little bit about cortisol, we are going to be talking just a slight bit about REM sleep and deep sleep. So I have my Apple Watch, and a lot of people have these devices. And on your Apple Watch, it gives you percentages, it gives you the amount of minutes that you had of this. So I'm just going to give you a rough number of things that you can look into when you're looking at your watch, when you're looking at those results to see where you should be at. And this is going, like if you have the iPhone, it's going to be all in your health app. So let's talk a little bit about REM sleep first. You should be getting about 25% of your sleep, which is about 120 minutes or 2 hours of REM sleep, which honestly, it should be in the hours of 2 and 6 a.m. Okay, and so that is REM sleep. Deep sleep should be about 20% of your sleep, which is about 90 minutes in the hours of 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. So honestly, it is super important that we are able to dive into deep sleep right away. Why? Because our hormones are being produced, melatonin is peaking, growth hormone is highest at this time, and growth hormone is super important for fat metabolism. It helps muscle repair. It helps with, fat breakdown and helps body composition. So many good things happen when you hit deep sleep. And so these hormones are shown to be around these times. So it's very helpful for you to be able to have this time for deep sleep. So like if you're somebody that's going to sleep at 12 p.m., you might want to bring it down, right? Because you are missing out on some good things that are happening around that time. All right, so without further ado, let's talk about this sleep cheat sheet that I have for you, the list for a perfect sleep. And so before I begin with this, know that you don't have to do all of these things. Remember to pick one or two that work for you and then slowly habit stacked. And like I mentioned earlier, we're all in different stages in life. When you're younger, when you're having kids, so some of these might not even be possible, but there's things that you can do to improve the things that are happening, right? So like I mentioned, right now, I'm at a stage where my hormones fluctuate throughout the month. So I have to be very diligent on what is going on and what my body's telling me. So it's super important to also listen to your body and build off that routine and response that your body's giving to improve your routines, right? So the perfect list to get the perfect sleep is going to start, like I mentioned earlier, with reducing your caffeine early in the afternoon. And like I said, you don't want to pass it 2 o'clock depending on how you metabolize caffeine. Like I said earlier, my husband can drink coffee at night and be dead asleep, but some people can't, right? So honestly, to be the latest, noon for some people. I'm normally a 2 o'clock person, but anything past that, I'm not going to be able to sleep. So stick to a good routine where you'll have your last cup of coffee in the early afternoon. Number 2 is stick to a sleep schedule. Pick a time that's going to work for you and slowly start, going backwards. Like for example, like I said, you're going to go sleep at 9. When are you going to have your dinner? When are you going to have maybe your tea, your last, sip of water? Things start to wind down. One thing that I've mentioned before is the 3-2-1 rule, which is like 3 hours before bedtime, you have dinner. 2 hours before bedtime, you have like your last cup of water, and then your last hour before bedtime, you want to start turning off electronics, you want to start dimming off the lights. It's just a good way to start winding down and letting your body know that it's almost bedtime. So sticking to a good sleep schedule, it's going to help your body make natural choices to want to fall asleep, right? Number 3 is try to get between 7 to 8 hours per night, which is one of the recommendations that we started in the beginning. And honestly, if you want to grab a pad, grab something to write this with, to have them. If you're not subscribed to the emails, you will be getting some of these in the future. But honestly, all of these are going to work so well for you to have a really good night's rest and quality sleep. Number 4 is going to bed and waking up at the same time every day. And this is including weekends. In order to regulate our body's clock, it will reinforce your sleep and wake cycle. And honestly, this works so well for all of us. Like my kids are up at 6 during the week. I've slowly increased their wake up time, and weekends they are up at 6. So we're all in the same circle, in the same cycle, and it's easy for us to go to sleep at the time that we normally do and wake up at the time that we normally do. Number 6 is switch off electronic devices, as the light stimulates wakefulness, and avoid activities that can cause excitement or anxiety. For example, a really hard movie before bedtime can definitely stimulate some things, like your brain thinks is real when it's watching those things. So definitely hard on your brain when you're watching series like this. So that is something to also consider when you're watching TV, when you're watching movies at night. Number 7 is use light to your advantage. Avoid bright lights in the evening and get lots of sunlight in the morning to maintain your circadian rhythms. And like we talked throughout the whole podcast, it's just being in one with nature. When the sun rises, we wake up. When the sun sets, we go back to sleep. Really simple. Number 8, and we didn't touch much on this. We talked a little bit about sleep hygiene, but number 8 is creating a restful environment. Your room should ideally be cool, dark, and quiet. I've invested in like blinds and like curtains that black out the light. Some people love wearing eye masks. I did that for a little bit. They're not for me. Earplugs for those who have partners that snore, if necessary. I use soft lamps. My Hatch sound machine allows me to change its light to red, orange. So I put it on red when it's time for bed or I want to lay down and read a book. Things like that, right? I charge my phone away from my nightstand. Is in my desk now, so it's away from me. So I put my watch on sleep mode, so I'm not getting any notifications during the night to wake me up. So just having a really great environment, nice and dark, where you can't even see like your hand in front of you. That would be the ideal blackness that you want in your room. And like I said earlier, keep food and other activities outside of your room. For me, I know I had to move my computer, my desk into my room. So I make sure that I do all of my work during the day. And once the kids get home, I try not to be in the computer in the evenings unless I have like a discovery call or a coaching consultation, which sometimes that does happen. But if I can avoid working in my computer past 3 o'clock, that would be amazing, right? So my body knows that in the afternoon, at night, it has nothing to do with work. And so Another thing that goes with creating a restful environment is getting comfortable. Make sure your mattress and pillows are comfortable. They support you. My husband just ordered some satin things for the pillows, or cases for the pillows, because he's growing out his hair and he needed it for his hair, and satin is always good for your skin as well. So making sure that we keep our fan clean. We have a snake plant in our room that filters the air as well. So things along those lines, having a nice cool room. We always turn down the temperature to 68, and we turn it back up to 73 in the morning. So it stays very cool in our room. And so those things are going to be very helpful in creating a nice, well-established sleep routine to help you have really quality sleep. And like I said in the beginning, before all these tips, don't be overwhelmed. Choose one thing that will work for you, that you think you can do, and then just slowly start habit stacking, and hope you have some happy sleeping going on for the next few weeks, right? As you integrate all of these tips in your daily lives and routines. And like I said, this sleep guide will aid you with all of the expert tips that I've learned myself in getting started in improving your sleep, and you're going to have great results, which I would love to hear. So if your sleep is improved, you feel better because of some of the switches that you've done with these tips, please let me know. I'll be happy to hear that from you. Thank you for listening for the sleep guide today, and hope this sleep cheat sheet helps you in creating a better sleeping environment, quality sleep. Sleep is always super important. That is the number one thing that I talk about when we start our coaching, because without sleep, we wouldn't be able to focus on our weight loss or have the energy to do anything else, right? So super important. And with that being said, I'm so happy that you're here. I'm so happy that you joined me today. Remember that the free summer course is available. We are now officially at week 6. This course will be available for the rest of the summer. So if you're interested in getting free coaching and getting some guides on how to feel better during the summer, feel confident, please join the email list and you will have access to that for free. And also, if you want to lose weight, if you're really aspiring to make big changes, I am doing free coaching as well, one-on-ones virtually during the summer as well. So just shoot me an email at hyhy@jackiepools.com why you want to get coached, why you want to get started, and let's get it done. I am here for you. I am wanting to coach you. I want to help you feel better, lose weight, feel energized, and honestly, leave that legacy to your family. So it's great talking to you. Till next time, chat with you